morning or good afternoon. Depends on what time you're in, what time zone, all that good stuff. But anyways, hello, Jordan.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good, man. It's going good. I really appreciate you taking some time out of your day to stop in and talk to a man that likes to ramble a little bit.
Yeah, no problem. My pleasure. I'm happy to be here.
Good. I really appreciate it too. And so let's just go ahead and get into it. What the short round really is about is me getting to learn about martial artists. I always ask the same three questions to every martial artist because the questions are the same, but the answers are always different. Mm-hmm. So you ready to get going?
Yeah, let's go. I'm excited.
Awesome. So the first question is how and why did you get into martial arts?
I guess how I just started watching UFC. I thought I could do that. There's no reason why I can't do that too. So then I just started training at a jiu-jitsu gym. There was no other day around, so I had to just start with jiu-jitsu, and I just loved it from there. And I guess the why is kind of like I just knew I'd be good at it. I knew I'd like it. So that's basically it.
So where did you start your martial art journey at? Where do you live at now, or did you start at the same area you're at now, or did you live somewhere earlier and then progress to where you're at now?
Yeah, basically I started in the town I'm at now. So I just live in a small town. It's like I don't know, 30,000 people or so. And I started at a jiu-jitsu gym, and but I left there after 2 years. I just didn't quite like it, and then I opened up my own gym 2 years after that in the same town. So almost like a competitor to the first gym I was at, just kind of like awkward there. But it's worked out well, and I've been here. I've just been here like basically my whole life in this little town here.
I can see that being a little awkward. Like, hey, I'm gonna leave the gym, and your owner's like, all right, well, you have a good day. And then next thing you know, he's like, why are you starting a gym in the same town?
Yeah, but it's even worse because he was like, angry I left the gym in the first place. And then he was like even more angry when I opened up the gym in the same town, right? So yeah, awkward.
Now, what kind of jiu-jitsu was that?
It was Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So that's what I started with. And then I started wrestling and started doing Muay Thai too after that. But yeah, I started with Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Okay. And how old are you now?
I was 21 when I started, and now I'm 31. So 10 years ago.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you wasn't doing this when you was in high school, and you wasn't doing even wrestling, really?
No, I did 1 month of wrestling in high school, more like 3 weeks. And everyone was telling me like, oh, it's like, gay because you wear singlets or whatever. And back then that kind of bothered me. So I just stopped doing it. But now if someone were to say that, I wouldn't care whatsoever. Like, that's not an insult. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's everybody in every occupation has a uniform, no matter what it is. If you work at McDonald's, you got a shirt and pants that you wear. If you're a doctor, you're gonna wear scrubs and an overcoat. If you're a wrestler, well, you got to wear a singlet, right?
Exactly. And that was like 2004. So that was like a long time ago when people kind of were less progressive, and kind of that was like the insult to throw around when you're a teenager. Yeah. So I'm glad things have changed since then.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah. That word right there was they did throw it around, and that did keep a lot of people from getting out of their box and maybe trying something new, because it's one of those things. I can't sit there and say over the years that people have got away from really what some people think, and that's actually a good progress with people.
Yeah, I agree. I think just a lot of society is heading the right direction, even though some isn't. But we've progressed a lot for sure since like the early 2000s.
Oh yeah. Well, it's just like anything. I mean, you're going to have your good and bads when it comes with it. So, every progression has a decression somewhere, right?
100%.
So, when you opened up your own school, how was that? Because I mean, very seldom do you ever see somebody, be into something for 2 years and then bam, even tattoo artists, are even kind of weary about, being an apprentice for a couple of years and then bam, just going to open up their own shop. So, I mean, it's actually kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, so it was after 3.5 years, so still extremely quick to open up a gym. But basically, like a CrossFit gym asked me, because I was doing CrossFit there, if I wanted to start a grappling program, and I was like, well, I wanted to wait until I was like a higher belt, and so I knew I wanted to open up a school, but I didn't want to pass the opportunity by, and I knew I was like a highly skilled blue belt, like like without like I don't know, sounding boastful or anything, but I could like, tap black belts. I'd hold my own against, everyone, so I didn't feel like I was a beginner. I just felt like, I felt like I could teach beginners, especially no problem. So yeah, it was difficult though. You get some backlash from people in the community and, which is hard to take just when you're a young guy or whatever. But I just use that all as motivation just to succeed anyways. And it just took time to figure out how to become a good instructor and how to run a gym. But once I had that figured out, it was pretty smooth sailing for sure. The gym's done very well since.
And what was your family's outlook on this? Like, hey, I'm gonna go open up a gym, and I'm gonna start doing this. Was it like, hey, are you sure you want to do this, or do you want to go look for a different career and maybe do this on the side, or how did that work out for you?
Yeah, well, it was kind of like I guess a natural progression towards doing it full time, because when I started the gym, it was only open 2 days a week, and it was just a part time thing, just like running class twice a week. So it wasn't like a big thing. But then we started growing really quickly. So then after like 6 months, not even 6 months, after like a couple months, it was 3 times a week, and then it was like 4 times a week, and five, and then 6 times a week, and then it was basically a full functioning gym by the time I was a purple belt, which yeah, it was only like probably 6 months after I originally started, maybe not even 6 months, like 5 months. So yeah, like I still did real estate. I was a real estate agent for a while, and I still did that until 2019, right at the end of 2019, and then the pandemic hit. I stopped doing real estate right before the pandemic hit and got into just jujitsu, which was like terrible timing, because the pandemic is the worst thing you can do is jujitsu, and the best thing you can do is real estate, because real estate took off. So really bad timing that way, but things have worked out really well for me since, so I can't complain.
Yeah, I like your Instagram, and I like your YouTube channel and things. Um, your YouTube channel is actually a very successful YouTube channel.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, you have what, about 80,000 subscribers or more?
Yeah, like 79,000, almost 80, but I'll be at 80 soon, because the video I just posted, the fake black belt video, I think fake white belt video, I think it's gonna like hit the algorithm pretty good and give me a lot of subscribers. So I think we're gonna get a lot of growth next little while.
Very good. Now, and that's kind of where, the second question comes in, because, I used to do podcast under a different show name, and I would do them before for, you know, 3 hours, 4 hours. And I don't do those anymore. So the short round is actually meant to be a shorter podcast to get to know the martial artist and things like that. And so it brings us to the second question. What are you doing with your martial arts now? And kind of get into more about, your YouTube channel, your gym, you're doing, starting a podcast and everything. Explain like what you're doing with your martial arts now.
Yeah, so basically, I'm kind of transitioning out of being a competitor and just really like training my body into the ground and being crazy, and more into like a content creator. And it's because I did like 10 years of jujitsu, where I was just like competing all the time, doing MMA fights, stuff like that. And I forget who said it, but someone put it really well, that you can only have a passion for like 10 years at a time, and you should move on to the next passion. And for me, it's not like moving on from jujitsu, but it's more like I want to move on to like doing creative type things with like video. Like I want to start like a docu series, like make some like mini documentaries on jujitsu figures and whatnot. So there's all sorts of stuff I want to do that revolve around more like content creation and just being creative, and less about competition and just trying to prove myself to be the best or something like that. I'm kind of like got away from that idea. So I'm in a good place now with my martial arts, and kind of like all my goals that I want to set for myself are very exciting for me, because I really like content creation. I like creating things.
Yeah, and it's not that you're actually getting away from martial arts altogether. You're just, instead of being a movie actor, you'd be a director, or you're, being a writer or something like that. So you're not just throwing all the, the 10 years of martial arts, or, a little bit more out the window. You're just moving it towards a different avenue.
Exactly. Because like, competing and stuff like that, it's more like for me and like, for my own ego and to show and to try to prove to people, kind of look how good I am or whatever. But like, that's not really what I want anymore. I want to like, I think creating content for other people is like the best way to give back and, put positivity into this world where it's less like selfish for me and more like just great for everyone. So yeah, it's like, that's like, I'm really happy with this path, because my old goal was like before the pandemic and even during the pandemic, I was like, I'm going to train so hard. I'm going to get to the UFC. I'm going to become champion, all this stuff. And I think I could have done it because I truly believe in myself, my abilities and my skills. But, that's a hard path to take, and it's not necessarily the path for me. And I also feel like just because I'm good at something doesn't mean that I have to like prove it, or not prove it, but like it doesn't mean I have to compete and like, do all these things I don't really love so much. I like, it's like I wanted to like become a UFC fighter because I wanted to prove everyone that I could, but rather than actually wanting to, because I don't really want to, I don't want to risk my brain and put myself through all that. So yeah.
Yeah. And as because you're married and have a family, and being a full-time fighter takes a lot out
Yes.
takes you away from the family. I mean, you got your training camps and things like that. And then plus, training, running your own gym, trying to do all these things. I mean, that's putting your efforts into all these things is going to take something from somewhere.
Exactly. Like one of my good friends was telling me basically, you can do anything, but you can't do everything. And that's kind of something that I was like, oh yeah, it's true. Cause I do try to do everything, but, I got to focus. I got to only put my time and effort into things that I truly want to do, rather than just like, things that are kind of like more ego driven. It's really important not to spread yourself too thin, right? And be, and put your efforts where they're best, where it has the most amount of payoff. So yeah, I think I'm doing the right thing for sure.
Yeah. And, I see that you're really getting interesting and into getting your podcast and things out like that. Do you want to explain a little bit like what your process is? Because I've been watching your process over, a little bit about you coming out with your podcast, and you're hard on yourself. Are you a little bit of a perfectionist when it comes to certain things? Because you're like, man, I've done this one and I've done this one, but I'm not sure if it's ready to let out yet. Or
yeah,
talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. I'm like, I'm really bad for being perfectionist and extremely hard on myself and extremely critical. So in a lot of senses, it's not like a healthy mindset to have, but in others, it like drives me to work really hard and to have everything be perfect the way I like it. So it's just because, if something like sticks out to me, it's not perfect. It's like, I can't get it off my mind. I can't take it. So yeah, like the first podcast, the trial run we did, it went pretty good. And the second one, it was just like, it was okay. I think one problem too, it was like kind of later in the afternoon. I was kind of hungry. So it was like, I just didn't have the energy to really have a captivating conversation. So, and I kind of feel like if I don't feel engaged in the conversation, then the listener's not going to feel engaged listening to it. So, and also I just don't mind like failing and doing something again. So like, for example, like my gym, when we were like renovating it, I painted the walls like 3 times until I got exactly what I wanted. It's like different colors. Like, I don't like that. I don't like that. And it was a lot of work, took hours and hours. We were behind in schedule. I'm like, no, it's gotta be the way, it's gotta be perfect. So that's just a small example, but it's kind of like everything like that. So now I feel like we have the podcast chemistry down right, and kind of understanding of how to do it. And, I gotta have a full stomach. I gotta be like relaxed, and not have any energy drink or anything beforehand. Cause that's what I did in the second one. I was like, just like feeling like really anxious, yeah. I'm like, that's not good but I can't be too tired either. Right. So it's like hard to balance it all. And especially when you are so self-critical, then it's harder that way.
You got to be the Goldilocks and Three Bears, you have to be just right. You can't have too much here, and you can't be, too laxed here, but that's somebody's, everybody has a different progress of that. And, and nothing's wrong if it's right to you. Somebody might sit there and say, that's not the way you do it. No, that's not the way you do it. That's how I do it. If you still get a good outcome, what's the harm, right?
Exactly. And I also feel like, just with everything, like I set such high expectations for myself. So, it's like, I want to have the #1 jiu-jitsu podcast in the world. So if I have put out like a mediocre product, I'm not going to get there. I got to like start with a bang, and every single podcast has to be a banger. So, if like we have like a one that falls flat, I probably just won't release it that week. Like, it's got to always be good. We'll just redo it the next day or something. Right. So yeah, I don't mind redoing things, making them perfect.
Yeah, trust me, I 100% understand you on that, because I was always sitting there trying to be a perfectionist on certain things. Like, like right now, because me and my wife I'm going to be doing this podcast, and me and her's going to be doing a different podcast. So we're actually getting a recording podcast, studio set up. And I'm like, well, I don't want to start my podcast until I get my studio up so everything looks great. And then I was sitting there, I'm like, well, is it ever going to be good enough for me? Is it ever going to be, so I was like, and I talked to different people, and they're like, listen, do it, put it out there, and then show your progression, and that's what works for me. I'm not sitting there saying that it would work for you, because trust me, I can, just by watching your Instagrams and things like that, it probably wouldn't work for you. And like I said, people do things differently, and there's nothing wrong with that. So like me, myself, when I first started off, because I've already done, like, by this time, 20 podcasts, because I'm getting them in the bank, just so I can sit there and make sure that I have something ready to put out every week, and at least something that I like. Because there's a few that I've done that I'm like, yeah, it's probably not going to work out. And, I might just do like an audio, and I might cut it up into clips and put it out that way. But yeah, I can understand, you want to put something out that you're proud of. And that seems like what you're trying to do with your podcast.
Exactly. But at the same time, with like some things, I don't mind, not being great at it, and kind of, having the process be getting better. Because like my YouTube channel, when I started, like, the videos were I think above average for YouTube video, but they still weren't like, what I was happy with. But I just put it out anyways and figure, okay, I'm going to keep progressing, keep getting better. And people were nice. They'd say, like my friends, they'd say, oh yeah, you did a great job on your YouTube videos. But I'd be like, no, just wait and see how good they're going to be in like a month from now or 2 months from now. Like, they're going to look like total trash. So like, yeah, I knew that they were going to progress like crazy. And they have. Like, if you look at my first video to my last video, it's like night and day. Like, editing, quality, teachability, every single aspect is better.
Yeah, and that's what I do also kind of like about YouTube and things like that, because I think I put my first video out on YouTube probably, and I don't even know if it's anywhere still on YouTube, but probably about like 2006, maybe right around there, early 2006. And yeah, totally night and day, to what I'm doing now. But it's fun to have people grow with your progress also. To me, I think it, because if you look at a lot of different people, like Art of One Dojo and Fight for a Happy Life, those dudes have some pretty good successful podcasts and YouTube channels, but you can see their progression though also. So obviously that's something that's happened with you. Or is it something that's in your mind, you're like, yeah, I'm definitely progressing, because different between night and day?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even the podcast I put out, like, I'm happy with it, but I'm not like ecstatic with it. Like, I know that there's so many things that I'm going to figure out how to do better. And so it's like it's adequate for now, but like I'm gonna think of every possible way to improve it so that there's like, so it's undeniable. Everyone wants to listen to it, wants to watch it, and it's the best podcast. And sometimes I say things like that, and then I worry that like people will think like I'm almost like arrogant, but that's not what it is. It's more like I set such a high standard for myself, and I'm competitive, like a friendly competitive. I want to have the best YouTube channel, but I still want everyone else to do very well too, and I want us to push each other and create this is such a great landscape of YouTube videos, and that's what I find really fun. Like, let's see who's the best, but again, not in like an arrogant type way, Exactly.
So then you're going to also learn you're going to get into that where you're learning learning yourself talking with people. I mean, I know it just sounds stupid, but why wouldn't you know yourself when you're talking with people? It's different when you're trying to get a point out. And have you learned that? Are you understanding that a little bit also?
Yeah, like I think one thing that's given me a lot of help and experience with like talking to people was like and when it comes to podcasts is like for like my whole life I was so shy and I had a hard time making conversation. But then when I became a realtor, if it was not open house, if it was like what's it called, like a house inspection, like usually just the buyers just like we don't do anything. We wait for the home inspector to be done. It's like 2 hours, and then they come and give us the report. And you can't like you don't want it to be awkward, so you have to be good at like making engaging small talk, because everyone can like feel when like the person doesn't care what you're actually saying. So there's like small talk that's just like pointless and just comes across as fake and just filling in noise. But when you have like real conversations with people and really get to know them and learn about them, I think it's like what people do want to listen to. So yeah, like I guess not the struggle now, but the challenge now is just figuring out how to how to not talk too much, how to give room for my co-host, how to kind of steer the conversation the way that is most engaging and most interesting for people. So it's such like a challenge, but what I really enjoy like figuring out how to do things. So
Yeah, trust me. One of the things that I have to work on myself is making sure that I'm not interrupting. That's something, and it's not because I'm like I want to talk over you or I don't want to hear what you're saying. Sometimes my brain, the way I got OCD and ADD and all these other different things going on. It's like if I don't get it out, then I'll totally forget about it. So now I'm like making sure you're like just calm down, just let the person talk, and if you remember it, you remember it. If not, you'll have something else to ask them afterwards, So you're doing the podcast with a couple other people, or is it just you by yourself?
Yeah, it's two of my good friends. One of them's a black belt who I've been training with since I was a white belt. Another one's a blue belt who's like, in his like late 40s. So I think it's a really good dynamic and like mix of people that really kind of people can resonate from all different demographics. So, and I think three people also just makes it like it makes it so we don't have to have a guest every time, and it also makes it so it's just a really flowy conversation. And because sometimes with two it can be more difficult, and I don't want to be bound to have I don't want to have a guest every time. And in fact, like I only want to have the guest like once a month, because I want it to be most of the focus on us three.
Okay, that makes sense. And what is is it always just going to be about jujitsu, or because it's what is it called again?
Yeah, it's Jordan Teaches Jiujitsu, and yeah, it's going to be mostly about jiu-jitsu. But I don't want to only have to focus on it. I want it to be like just a fun conversation, and whatever it goes. But I also understand, people are there to learn about jiu-jitsu, so I have to like not go too down the rabbit hole. But I do want to talk about things that are important to me and things that are interesting to me, so people can learn about me. And I just think that's more interesting that way, because I love jiu-jitsu, but I don't only want to talk about jiu-jitsu. There's a lot of things that I'm passionate about.
Well, you can talk about, jiu-jitsu and how that affects you being a dad. I mean, because you have what, 2 or 3 kids?
Yeah, I've got 3 kids, and 2 of them are twins. They're both 3 years old. So, and I got a 9-year-old too. So yeah, it's like quite busy of a household, loud and stressful at times because, twins, boys are like just unreal how high maintenance they are. And, it's basically the whole time you gotta do a couple of things. You gotta try to stop them from killing themselves because they're constantly are doing dangerous things. You gotta stop them from killing each other, which is also difficult because they like to bite each other and scratch each other, and it's hard to stop them. And so it's just a big challenge. And yeah, it's kind of changed a lot of things in my life, made things a lot harder. But obviously, like, I love them, very happy to have them. Yeah, but definitely life would be a lot easier and like more chill without them.
So on to the next question. The last question. What is, we've touched on a little bit, but like really, what is your future? What is martial arts in your future? What is your whole future plan in the whole martial art world?
Yeah, that's a really interesting and tough thing to answer because I really don't know, because sometimes I just want to like move to Mexico and just like lay on the beach all day and just train jiu-jitsu just like when I want to. So just like, or that's what I think about a lot, just like not running a gym just because it's a lot of stress. But yeah, I'm not really sure what the future holds, but because I want to get more into content creation and like I want to make documentaries on other things one day, and like, or be a director, make like movies, just because that's stuff I really like and I've always wanted to do. So now I feel like, again, the practice doing it through jiu-jitsu, getting views through jiu-jitsu, I can transition to not bigger things, but more broad of categories that more eyes on and more things that I'm passionate about too. Cause I don't want to burn out of jiu-jitsu and be like stuck. You can only talk about jiu-jitsu. I want to do more than just that.
Yeah. Well, Jordan, before I let you go, can you please give your whole spew of information on where people can watch you, see you, interact with you, all the fun stuff?
Yeah, everyone listening, make sure to check me out on Instagram, Jordan Teaches Jiujitsu, on YouTube, Jordan Teaches Jiu-Jitsu. Same with TikTok, and then watch my podcast. It's Jordan Talks Jiu-Jitsu. So really important you don't mess that up, or you won't find it in Spotify. So Jordan Talks Jiu-Jitsu for the podcast.
Jordan Talks Jiu-Jitsu, Rocky. What do you think about that? Mm-hmm. Oh, this Rottweiler, he's getting old. He's right around 12.
Yeah, my pugs are 12 too. And yeah, they're not looking, as good as they used to. It's unfortunate.
Oh yeah. He's all gray in the face and, he's got those, but he's also lazy. So he doesn't really do anything. So yeah, I think it's what's kind of saving him a little bit. Like, most Rottweilers have bad hips around this age, but he doesn't do anything. He's like a cat. He just lays around all day.
Yeah.
So,
and my one pug, his hips are bad too. His back legs don't even work. They just slide around. Yeah. We have to carry him everywhere, but he's my little guy. So I'll do that for him.
You got to keep him then, right? You got to keep him until the end. Exactly. Well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, he's not that big of a dog, so I guess you can get him like a dog backpack carrier.
Exactly.
I can't do much with a 80-pound Rottweiler, walking around with him. It just doesn't work right.
No, you get strong pretty fast though, holding him
you
around.
Would really appreciate you taking time out of your day, away from your family and your kids and, your podcast and all that thing. So I'm going to let you go. And brother, I appreciate it. And I will see you on the interwebs.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me. I'll see you around.
Thank you, brother. You have a good day. All right.
Yeah, you too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Strange